Cycling through Divoká Šárka felt like stepping into a different world. When I first moved to Prague, I wasn't expecting to find such a vast, wild expanse of nature so close to the city. I had always heard about the architectural beauty and charm of Prague's cobbled streets, the castles, the bridges, but Divoká Šárka was something entirely different. It felt raw and untouched, as if time had forgotten this corner of the world. That morning, as I tightened my helmet and clipped my shoes into the pedals, the crisp autumn air hit my face, filling my lungs with the unmistakable scent of damp earth and pine. It was quiet. The early morning sun was just beginning to cut through the mist that hovered over the park, casting everything in a soft, golden light. I had woken up excited for the ride. I knew this day would be something special. Coming from Morocco, where the landscapes are vast, dry, and rugged, I've always felt a strong connection to nature. In Marrakesh, my rides would often take me into the surrounding countryside, through the sprawling fields of olive trees or up into the Atlas Mountains, where the rocky desert terrain pushed me to my limits. The heat there can be merciless, even in the cooler months, and the dust kicks up with every gust of wind, coating everything in a fine orange powder. But despite the harshness, the Moroccan landscape holds a certain beauty. It's stark, powerful, and demands respect. Here, in Divoká Šárka, the contrast couldn't have been greater. As I rode into the park, the lushness of the greenery immediately struck me. Tall trees lined the path, their leaves still clinging to the branches, some beginning to change into the fiery reds and oranges of autumn. It felt like I was being embraced by nature, the trees forming a canopy overhead, dappling the path with sunlight. I could hear the birds chirping in the distance, and every so often, the sound of a stream running somewhere deep within the forest. The first stretch of the ride was gentle, easy even. The gravel path crunched beneath my tires as I found my rhythm, settling into the pace of the ride. It's that feeling every cyclist knows, when the pedals start moving without effort, and your body just becomes part of the bike. For me, it's a meditative state, where the world narrows down to the hum of the tires, the wind on my skin, and the steady in and out of my breath. I've always loved the way cycling allows me to experience a place. When you're on a bike, you feel every slope, every bump, every change in the terrain. It's not like being in a car where the world flies past behind a pane of glass. On a bike, you're in it. You feel the contours of the land, the way the trail dips and rises. And in a place like Divoká Šárka, with its rolling hills and dramatic cliffs, that connection to the landscape feels even more profound. After about half an hour of riding, the trail began to climb. I knew this was coming. People had warned me that the park's terrain could get steep. But what I wasn't prepared for was just how quickly the landscape would change. 1 minute, I was riding through a peaceful forest, the ground soft, and the trees whispering above me. The next, the path started to rise, the trees thinning out to reveal the jagged cliffs that the park is known for. The climb was steep, but I leaned forward, gripping the handlebars tightly as my legs started to burn. This was the kind of challenge I relished. Back in Morocco, I had tackled the slopes of the Atlas Mountains, long, grueling climbs that left me breathless, but stronger with every pedal stroke. Here, though, the air was cooler, and the landscape felt less punishing, more inviting. It urged me to keep going, to see what lay ahead. As I reached the top of the climb, the view that greeted me took my breath away. Below, the park unfolded in every direction, a sea of green, punctuated by rocky outcrops and the occasional flash of water where a stream cut through the valley. I stopped for a moment, letting the bike rest beneath me as I gazed out over the landscape. There was something almost otherworldly about the scene, like I had stumbled into a hidden world. Even though I knew Prague was just a short ride away, it felt like I had left the city far behind. I took a deep breath, savoring the cool air as it filled my lungs. This was why I loved cycling. The freedom to explore places like this, to push myself physically while also finding moments of stillness. As a Moroccan, I was used to vast open spaces, but Divoká Šárka had a different kind of openness. It wasn't the expansive desert that stretched out forever into the horizon. It was more intimate, more contained, but still full of wild beauty. The descent from the cliffs was exhilarating. I leaned into the bike, letting gravity do its work as I flew down the path, the wind whipping past me. Every turn of the trail revealed something new, a glimpse of a hidden stream, a patch of wildflowers clinging to the rocky ground, the flash of a bird taking flight from a nearby branch. It was like the park was constantly offering up small gifts, moments of beauty that I couldn't have anticipated. As I reached the valley floor, the trail flattened out again, and I found myself riding alongside a small stream. The sound of the water was calming, a steady background noise that blended with the rustling of the trees and the occasional crunch of gravel under my tires. It was peaceful here, and I slowed my pace, allowing myself to fully take in the surroundings. I could see other cyclists in the distance, their bright jerseys a flash of color against the muted greens and browns of the landscape. Riding through Divoká Šárka felt like a journey back in time. The park had a sense of history about it, a kind of ancient energy that I could feel in the air. I thought about the legends I had heard, the stories of the warrior Šárka, who had used the cliffs and valleys to outsmart her enemies. There was something fitting about cycling through a place with such a wild, untamed history. It felt like I was tapping into that same spirit of adventure, of exploration. As I continued along the trail, I thought about how far I had come, both in terms of the ride and in my life. Moving to Prague had been a big step for me, a chance to experience a new culture, a new way of life. But cycling had always been my constant, the thing that grounded me no matter where I was. Whether I was navigating the bustling streets of Marrakesh or riding through the quiet beauty of Divoká Šárka, the bike was always there, carrying me forward. I knew I didn't have much farther to go, but I wasn't in a hurry. I wanted to savor these last moments, to soak in the beauty of the park and the peace that came with it. Thanks for joining me on this ride through Divoká Šárka. If you enjoyed the journey, let me know what you think in the comments, hit that like button if you want more adventures like this, and stay tuned by subscribing.